Hello everyone, this is Dartt and I'll be going over the current optimal Beastmaster Hunter build. We're a few weeks into Legion now, Emerald Nightmare has opened up, we've had a chance to see mythic plus 5-mans, and some hotfixes have gone live. So we're in a better place to see what has worked and what hasn't. To start off with, I'll be using the guide from icyveins.com as both a template and point of reference in this discussion. It's authored by Azertharian, who currently raids with Vanguard and was formerly a raid leader with the guild Method. A highly respected player and theory crafter, so I'd advise you to check that out if you haven't. Overall, his impression is that Beast Mastery is decent for single target and has good AoE. That it's powerful in Mythic Plus content, and that it's respectable for raiding, but it is, and I quote, mechanically worse for most encounters in Emerald Nightmare than marksmanship. This impression bears out both what he said in the previous 7.03 guide and my own impressions after playing both specs for the last month. I've had Beastmaster Hunters get in my face for not declaring them best all around, but I'll reiterate here what I told them then. It's a very strong spec, but best used in 5-mans and world content for now. So what's new with Hunters in Legion? If you haven't played in a while, at least since the Legion launch event, all Hunter specs have been completely redesigned. All the specs have lost some things. Beast Mastery no longer possesses the ability to use traps. If you like your crowd control, I'm sorry, but it's no longer there in that form. That's the bad news. The good news is that you no longer manually generate focus. Focus now regenerates at a passive base rate of 10 focus per second. Beast Mastery's relative strengths and weaknesses are pretty pronounced. Its strengths include high base AoE damage with Beast Cleave. And if you supplement that with Barrage, Volley, or Stampede, the AoE damage can become positively crazy. It also possesses decent burst damage. With an average item level of 853, 13 points into Titan Strike, and with Kapla, I found that I can easily sustain between 250 to 255k DPS single target on a training dummy. I've also seen some bursty metrics approaching 500k DPS on larger trash pulls. Talent choices. For soloing world content, and Icy Veins is completely silent on this subject, I use Way of the Cobra, Stomp, Post Haste, Bestial Fury, Binding Shot, Murder of Crows, and Aspect of the Beast. For Mythic Plus, or actually 5-man instances in general, Icy Veins recommends Dire Stable, Stomp, Post Haste, Bestial Fury, Binding Shot, Volley, and Stampede. I disagree with this. For Tier 2, either Dire Frenzy or Chimera Shot would be a better choice in 5-mans. Period. Stomp's damage is absolutely trivial, and it's mainly useful in either an open world setting or in situations where the tank has died to pick up threat until he can be battle resed. If your group has that problem, there are other issues at play that you being spec'd into Stomp is not going to fix them. For the last tier, I feel that Stampede is fine for trash pulls, but questionable on boss fights. Killer Cobra may actually be better for these. For raiding, Icy Veins has you taking Dire Stable, Stomp, Post Haste, Bestial Fury, Binding Shot, Murder of Crows, and Killer Cobra. I agree except for Stomp. Again, this talent has no real place in a raid setting and is next to useless. You are better off taking either Dire Frenzy or Chimera Shot depending on the encounter. Artifact ability progression. The Beastmaster artifact weapon opens with and to a certain degree centers around Hati, a lightning wolf pet you gain in addition to your own pet that is tied into the weapon's story. I happen to agree with Icy Veins on the optimal path for developing Titan Strike, and that is to start off by putting points into Beastmaster, Focus of the Titans, Mymoron's Shell, Jaws of Thunder, then Master of Beasts. Then continuing on to get Furious Swipes, Unleash the Beast, and Surge of the Storm God, before taking Pathfinder, Pack Leader, Wilderness Expert, and Titan's Thunder to unlock all 3 of your golden artifact weapon abilities. Then finishing up by taking Spitting Cobras, Spirit Bond, Natural Reflexes, and Hunter's Advantage. For relics, you want to be on the lookout for those that have a high item level and either Pack Leader, Jaws of Thunder, or Wilderness Expert. Those yield the highest DPS gains in that order. After that comes Spitting Cobras, Unleash the Beast, Beast Mastery, Furious Swipes, and Focus of the Titans, again in that order. As far as legendaries go, you're probably not going to have more than one at this point, and you'll want to use any of them over any standard of the real run-of-the-mill epics at this point. Should you have multiple legendaries, these are the best ones to equip. For single target, Roar of the Seven Lions, the Apex Predator's Claw, Qapla', Eridan War Order, Call of the Wild, and then the rest in no real particular order. For multi-target, the Apex Predator's Claw is number 1, followed by Roar of the Seven Lions, then Call of the Wild, Qapla', and all the rest. Combat rotations. For an opening sequence, start off by using whatever potions you have. I know the current ones are expensive, so if you have Warlords of Duran or Agility potions left over, then use those. Next, cast Murder of Crows, activate Bestial Wrath, and Aspect of the Wild. If it's single target, Kill Command. If it's multi-target, cast Multi-Shot. Finally, cast Dire Beast and proceed with whichever rotation suits the situation. Fortunately for Beastmaster, your rotation is very simple and priority based. For single target, you want to use Titan's Thunder on cooldown, and when Dire Beast is active. Then Dire Beast or Dire Frenzy if you have that talent, followed by Kill Command, and finally Cobra Shot if you have over 90 focus. In multi-target situations, you want to open with Multi-Shot to activate Beast Cleave, then cast Dire Beast or Frenzy. If you have 2 targets, cast Kill Command. Kill Command's usefulness in multi-target is questionable at best on 3 targets, and you won't want it in your rotation at all for 4 or more targets. Icy Veins would have you use Cobra Shot at over 90 focus, but depending on the number of targets you have, I would argue that you would actually do better to spam a couple of casts of Multi-Shot in quick succession. The higher the number of targets, the more you should be inclined towards Multi-Shot spam and less towards Cobra Shot. You have 2 major cooldowns, Bestial Wrath and Aspect of the Wild. You will want to use Bestial Wrath on cooldown and Aspect of the Wild whenever you can combine it with Bestial Wrath. Moving on to stat priority. When you're looking at a new item and trying to judge how much of an upgrade or downgrade it may be, it's always helpful to know what stats are most important. For a Beastmaster Hunter, agility is always going to be your most important stat. For the most part, an increase in item level will also reflect an increase in this base stat. But if you're forced to choose between pieces of gear with the same item level, you want Mastery, Haste, Critical Strike, and Versatility in that precise order. Next topic, gems, potions, flasks, and enchants. If you plan on doing high-end raiding or high-end PvP anytime soon, these can drain your stash of gold in a hurry. So I'm going to make a recommendation and you can follow or disregard it as you wish. Don't overspend on the highest end gems and enchants until the piece of gear you want to enhance is at least item level 865. Unless you are in a guild that is in a race to gain realm or world first recognition, it makes absolutely no sense at this point to spend 20k or more on an enchant for what is essentially a throwaway or at least a soon to be upgraded item. Use the more inexpensive gems and enchants Then step up to the more expensive ones once you gain items worthy of your hard-earned gold. That way, if you start doing heroic or mythic level raids or whatever your situation, you won't have already thrown away all your money and be unable to afford to raid or play at that level. For gems, optimally, you'll want 1 Saber's Eye of Agility and Masterful Shadow Rubies and whatever other sockets you have left over. As far as potions and flasks go, if you can afford to buy up Potions of Deadly Grace, I would say go for it. They promise to be very pricey due to the way herbalism is working in Legion, so if you can't afford it right now, at least try to stock up on flasks. On that note, Flask of the Seventh Demon is the one you want. On the subject of enchants, Enchant Neck, Mark of the Hidden Satyr, Enchant Cloak, Binding of Agility, and Enchant Ring, Binding of Mastery are the ones you ultimately want. But again, if you don't have the money to dump into these, go with the cheaper versions. For raid food, try and at least keep a few stacks of Barracuda, Merglogla, or however you pronounce it, for the plus 300 mastery buff. If you can afford the higher end plus 375 mastery buff, then all the better. But keep in mind, these buffs don't persist through death, so you may need several of them before you kill a new raid boss. Given how expensive or hard to come by mats for these may be, I would not recommend using these just for trash pulls. Lastly, if you can afford to, I would strongly recommend the Defiled Augment rune. Just be aware that it won't work in Mythic Plus dungeons. Macros. There are 2 that I would recommend. The first is an absolute must, and that is some sort of misdirection macro. The one I recommend you can set up as follows. First line, # show misdirection. Second line, /focus, open square bracket, help, close square bracket. Third line, /stop macro, all one word without space. Then open square bracket help and close square bracket. Fourth line, /cast, open square bracket, at, symbol, focus, comma, space, exists, close square bracket, misdirection, space, open square bracket, at symbol, pet, comma, space, exists, close square bracket, misdirection, semicolon, space, misdirection. This will give you a macro that will automatically misdirect first to whoever you have set to focus, ideally your tank, if you have him set to your focus, and if not, it will default to your pet. So it's a very handy, very useful one button fits all macro to have. Next, I would recommend having a macro to cancel aspect of the turtle, so you can use it to avoid an incoming effect, then get rid of it so you can attack as quickly as possible. And this is actually a very simple one. All in one line, /cancel aura, no space in between cancel and aura, space, aspect of the turtle. That about wraps up this video guide. I hope you found it informative and helpful. If so, please hit that like button. Feel free to share it with anyone you may know who needs advice on how to improve their hunter gameplay. I'm always interested in reading your comments, so please leave those below. And finally, I'm always releasing new content, so please hit that subscribe button if you haven't, just so you don't miss anything good. Once again, this is Dartt. Good luck and have fun, all you hunters out there.